What's up, guys? Luke here, and I'm just going to do a quick introduction for those people watching this later. I'm just going to be going over what is or what has been going on with the vehicles, mainly the SRT. There's a little tidbit in there about the Stinger, but I know most of my followers right now are about the SRT4. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Basically, I think the last time I left you guys, and welcome as you guys are coming in. I'm actually going to go look and see what I left you guys with. I was probably supposed to look at that. But anyway, I'll tell you what I was going through. I know y'all saw I was having a little bit of hesitation problem in wide open throttle. I almost think I had two problems, maybe even three problems going on at once. At first, it seemed like an ignition problem. What's up, people? When you come in, say what's up. See if you can hear me. Ignition problem. The wires were new, the plugs were new, but the coil pack wasn't, so I replaced the coil pack. In between there, it seemed like it fixed that problem, but then I got a separate problem in fourth gear around 5,000 RPM. It seemed like it was having fuel cut issues. Later on, that tended to get a little bit worse. The car would actually stall out, but I'd be able to start it right back up. Sometimes I would just come out to the car in the morning and it wouldn't start, but yet 20 minutes later, I'd come out and it would start fine. So eventually, it did just finally cut out, and it was the fuel pump. So anyway, if somebody's in here watching, just throw a comment on there, would you? As long as you can see if you can hear me, say what's up. Because again, it would suck for me to talk forever, and it's not recording anything. So along came the journey of getting another fuel pump. Now, keep in mind, this fuel pump was just replaced in February. So, I mean, I've had it for hardly 2 months. It's a Walboro 450. What's up, man? And it was new. That one was new. Okay, that one was replaced in February, but the original 450 was put in December. And we thought we were having some fuel issues back then. Now we replaced the fuel pump. Johnny did replace the fuel pump, but it ended up being the regulator. So this is the third fuel pump it's had, in 3 months. So one was, not its fault. Is it three? Yeah, we put the 450 in, changed the 450, and then I put another one in. Yeah. So anyway, I was kind of like, well, I didn't really like the whole fact that the SRTs have the pickup issue. I know a lot of cars do, I guess, but it's a big thing with the SRTs when you're below a third of a tank, it seems. And you accelerate when you get to the certain horsepower. I guess the G-forces push the fuel to the back of the tank, and it won't pick up with the stock pickup. I actually have to drive about 40 minutes to get my E85. So, I kind of try to wait until I'm about a quarter tank to go get E85. And it kind of sucks that I can't do anything, in case I know it sounds stupid, but if I run up on a car I want to run or something, like I just have no ability to do anything with the car I spent all this money on. So I did like the fact that the car basically won't run wide open throttle under a quarter of a tank. Sometimes it seems like I had issues under a third of a tank when you turn, like if you turn and try to accelerate. So we're pulling out on a highway, all the gas shifts to the other side of the tank. So a couple people suggested Hydromat, but that was pretty expensive. It's over $200 for that. And then I was like, you know what? That seems like temporary. If I want to build the engine and go to 600, 700 horsepower later on down the road, to go ahead and get an external fuel pump and a sump kit, or basically to where it gravity feeds from the bottom of the tank through a hose to the fuel pump instead of the canister setup. And I went back and forth for a while. I said, you know what, screw it. Let me just go do that, because the pump was only like another $100 or something, $150. And the sump kit was $30. But I didn't realize I was going to have to replace my lines. So Johnny said, hey, that pump pushes so much that you're going to need to replace your lines with 8 AN. And I had 6 AN. And then I started looking at the hose, the PTFE rated hose, and it's expensive. And then I'd have to do all the fittings, and I don't do the fittings. It's like, so I have to get somebody to do the fittings, and I was about to just take it back to Johnny, and then I'd have to pay him. And I'm just like, holy crap, this thing that was going to be $300 or $400 is now going to be $700 or something, and who knows what else. So I had already ordered the pump and the sump kit, and I just decided to go ahead and throw another Walboro in it. And when I did that, I looked at the difference between the 450 and the 525 Walboro, which is like the Hellcat pump, I guess. It was only like another $20, $30. So I just said, well, if it's the same canister size, might as well just do that one. So I had the Hellcat pump on the way, and it's like kept me up at night that I was going to have the same pickup issue. Even though I'm going to drop the tank and do all this stuff, I'm going to have the same pickup issue. And I just said, to hell with it. Let me just get the hydromat set up. So I ended up getting the hydromat set up, which ended up costing me about, in the grand scheme of things, that was $220. And then all the hose that's, submersible rated was really expensive. And then the fittings. And then, so, I mean, it was still pretty darn close. I mean, it probably saved me a couple $100, but either way, I knew that this would fix my issue for a long time. So I went ahead and did that setup. Now, the fun part comes is when we actually started to do this process. Um, I had a buddy come over and help me because I haven't dropped the gas tank on my SRT in 15 years, and I had somebody help me back then. And I don't even think we dropped the whole thing. We just tilted it enough to where we could get the canister out because I was changing to a 255 on my first SRT. So I had somebody come over and help me. We took it all apart, got the canister out, got the new pump wired up, but my hydromat wasn't in because it was a late thought after I'd already ordered the pump. So we had it all out, everything ready to go. I just needed to do the hydromat system. Well, when I had the hydromat system come in, basically, I did the hydromat setup. I made the hose relatively long because you kind of want it to sit all the way back at the back of the tank. And basically, how it sticks in there is, if you're not familiar with the hydromat, I'll show you a picture of what it's like. Basically, it's kind of like a mini bladder at the bottom of the tank, and there's a lot of different sizes that it comes in. A popular one was kind of like a cross shape. If it'll even zoom in on that, yeah, and adjust a little bit. There you go. So you can see that's where the pickup is, and that's what connects to the bottom of basically where the bottom of the old pickup connector was. So basically what you do is, a buddy of mine helped me on the forum or the Facebook group. Let me see if I can find the clip. And you kind of take one of these other pickups from like another setup, and you basically cut that part off and hook it to your pickup on your pump, and then the other side to the hose that goes to the hydromat. So it's kind of a little retrofit to get it to work, but it works fine. So anyway, I had that all set up, and I was going to wait for my buddy to come back and help me put it all together. But since I was there and the tank was empty now because when we went to do it, it was full, I said, what the heck, why don't I give it a shot? I want to get this thing running. So I put it all, I tested the pump outside. I put the hydromat in a bucket of fuel, and I primed the pump, and it pumped perfect. So I was like, all right, great. So the pump's working, everything's wired up right. And I put it back in the car, get everything back together, go to start the car. I can hear the pump. I'm like, great, I can hear it now. Go to start it, and nothing. And some of these videos before, I took some video before, like of me, a little commentary, and then starting the car. And so they'll be on a video upcoming, but they're kind of funny. So nothing worked. So I'm racking my brain. I'm like, well, what the hell? I just tested this thing outside the car, and I just put it in the car, and nothing's happening. I checked power at the pump, not power at the pump, but I mean power at the connector at the pump, and it's getting 12 volts. Everything's working. I'm like, what the heck? So I jumped the relay. I disconnect the fuel line right at the pump. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe if there's a line clog, because I took it off of the fuel rail and I wasn't getting anything. I'm like, let me take it off right at the canister to see if I'm getting anything. Nothing. I can hear the pump running, but there's nothing coming out. So I'm like, son of a gun, did I make the hose too long? Because it was a pretty long setup. I probably had 14 inches of hose or something, 12 to 14 inches of hose, because I wanted to get it in the very back bottom corner of the tank. And I'm like, maybe it's kinking in there, because if I can hear the pump running, it's got to be a pickup issue. So I was just distraught. And I'm like, well, I was getting, from everybody else, they're like, look, if you can hear it and it's connected and it's got power and you're jumping the relay, it's got to be a pickup issue. Or you could have a leak in the hoses inside the canister. So I dropped the tank again, get everything out. And first thing I did was test the pump. And I'm like, and it worked. So I was like, well, what the heck? It's working right here. So, but it's not working in there. Okay, so that was maybe the kink thing. So I shortened up the hose, and I probably make it about 6 inches. I'm like, all right, so there's plenty of room in there. It can't be kinking right now. And how it sticks to the bottom of the tank is there's magnets. There's like super powerful earth magnets that get screwed on to each corner of that cross that I showed you earlier. And then other magnets, powerful earth magnets, go on the bottom of the tank, the plastic tank. So basically they stick to each other through the bottom of the tank. It's actually a pretty neat idea. So that way the hydromat is always flush on the tank. My ghetto softbox thing here fell down. All right, there we go. It's a paper towel over a light, but it works. So anyway, go ahead and check everything, make sure everything's tight, look at the wiring, look at the wires that we, put together, made sure the heat shrink was still good and everything. And that was all fine, and put it back in the bucket, tested it outside. It worked fine. Put it all back together, started it up, and nothing again. I'm trying to shorten this up because it's just a painful thing. Hey, what's up? Thanks for coming in. So it was a painful process, right? So same thing happened. I go through everything. I take off the fuel pressure or the fuel line there, and nothing's coming out. I can hear the pump, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. And then that's when someone suggests, well, maybe it's leaking inside the canister. That wasn't actually what happened. I wasn't able to check that the second time. I wasn't thinking about it. At this point, it's like 9 o'clock at night. I've worked on this thing all weekend, and I just put it back in there. And I'm like, screw it. There's nothing else I can do at this point because it's not working. It's not just going to magically work. Let's figure this thing out and drop the tank again. This time, when I dropped the tank, I kept everything together and I just tested the pump inside the tank on the ground, and it worked. And I was like, okay, well, someone also suggests, well, maybe you've got a clog in your evap system, because if that's, it's acting like a garden hose, you put a hole over one end and it can't suck because there's pressure building up. It can't vent. I said, all right, well, that makes sense. Let me stick a socket in the, evap hole. And I closed off the filler neck and everything just to make a sealed thing. And it didn't pump. So I was like, all right, cool. Maybe it's my evap system. I don't know how to fix it, but at least I know what it is. I'm like, let me double check this and undo everything and make sure it pumps again. So I take out the socket wrench and I undo everything, and I go to test it again, and it doesn't pump, but I can hear it. Like, I hear the pump, but it's not pumping. So I'm just like really flabbergasted at this point. I don't know what the heck. I plug the hole back in and everything, and it still doesn't pump. And I don't know what the hell's going on at this point. Pull the canister, test the pump, works fine. So I'm losing my mind at this point on what the hell is going on. So just to try to speed the story up, what had happened was when we repinned the connector on the inside of the canister the second time, it was backwards. So what was happening is, when I was testing it outside, I could see the red and black wire in the canister. So I knew which wire to put the red and black wire to because it was right there. But since it was backwards, every time I was sticking it in the car, the pump was running backwards. So I could hear the pump running because it was getting power, but it was at the opposite polarity. So it was actually sucking and not pumping. Very frustrating, but I'm glad it was something simple, and the car works fine and runs great now. I think what happened is we put on some regular, the first time we unpinned it and we connected to the new pump, we put on some regular heat shrink. And I was like, oh, wait, I've got this good heat shrink that seals everything with adhesive on the inside. Let's put that on it. So we had to unpin it again. And I think we just weren't thinking the second time and just quickly put it back in there. And that's when we messed up and mixed the pins up. So that's why it makes sense that when I was testing it outside the car, and sometimes it would work and sometimes it wouldn't. I think what I was doing is sometimes I would have it outside the canister, and then sometimes I would not have it outside the canister. So I was testing it by the connector plug on the car, which was the correct way to do it. And it was making noise, but it wasn't pumping anything. But when I had it all stretched out and the canister open and I could see the positive and negative wire, that's how I would test it. So the reason I caught it is because I finally caught that. I was like, somebody suggested it to me. And I kind of shrugged it off at first. He's like, dude, check your wiring. It's a wiring issue. And they didn't specifically say that, but then he's like, hey man, just check the pins on the inside of the canister. And sure as shit, I even verified it because I was like, wait a second. I've been putting the positive wire on the inside the whole time, but that positive wire is not on the inside. So anyway, that's what it was. So as of right now, the car's running good. Just want to give you a quick update. Of course, it's been 15 minutes of me blabbering on. I know there's not that many people in here, but if you got any questions, go ahead and type a comment and I'll say what's up. Other than that, I'm going to go drive it a little bit more. I want to do my fourth gear pull. I haven't had a fourth gear pull on it yet. My brakes were like worn completely down. I didn't really know they were that bad until one of my buddies, when he was putting my new wheels on, he's like, "Hey man, you might as well stick your foot out to brake with the kind of brakes you got on this thing right now." And that was the difference in the pad. That was what was on the car, and that's the new pad. I mean, geez, one of them was pretty much bare metal almost, and the other one was like almost bare metal and cracked. I mean, it'd been a long time since I had a Neon. I guess the brakes, I just thought the brakes sucked that bad. I mean, they really weren't that bad. Normal day to day traffic, it was fine, but I did notice that the brake fade on coming down from the pulls was pretty tough. But I always had a long stretch, so I just took it easy on the brakes. But I just figured that's what they were. Ooh, they were kind of crappy. It's a Neon. But anyway, I got some Hawk HPS brakes on there now, all the way around. I did that last night. And I've got some ARP extended stud bolts that I have to put on. But I think I have to take the hub off and press them out and then press new ones in. So I can't do that here. So I'm going to do that over the weekend, hopefully. But I'll have a new video coming up. It's probably going to be someone suggested doing a POV video and just driving it. So I'll probably add in some sights and sounds video like to it, maybe just some sounds of the outside and inside the engine and the exhaust. Kind of combine it into a POV video and just not a lot of talking, just kind of driving. So I'm going to go see if everything works right now and then start creating that video for you guys. So yeah, I probably about had 100 miles here, right? Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping in. If you got any questions, of course, leave in the comments, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. We're trying to flip your calendar. Oh, yeah. Thanks. Not yet. It's funny. I almost clicked end. Yeah, see, I put it up late, and you can see I just half-ass put it up. I didn't even use another nail yet because I got to put another hole in my wall. But it'll get more. I have a nice spot right here over my computer that I'm probably going to put it next to your other picture that you took. Hey, look, there it is. So anyway, I'll catch you guys on the next video.